It's okay. Achieving greatness for me has always been defined by explorers. My whole life, I dreamed about being an athlete. My world in my head is extreme, but in reality, I'm a very average guy. The life I live now is the extended version of the 9-to-5 life. There is no end to it. I'm on the hamster wheel, spinning and spinning and spinning. The life of an athlete that I thought I was living was a lie. And that's why I've set myself a seemingly impossible goal. So the craziest thing I could think of is to cross Antarctica alone, as this is the pinnacle of elite exploration. The death risk is so extremely high. The Antarctic crossing is like running a marathon every day for 50 days. My biggest obstacle was that there was no roadmap for me to do this. I pulled the trigger on it, and I'm freaking out. So I've designed a series of challenges to prepare myself, starting with running 5 continuous marathons in one go.
Starting to get to me a little bit, and it was playing mind games.
And then cycling a non-stop lap around Iceland. An Arctic expedition crossing Norway's toughest terrain to the challenging peaks of the Himalayas. This isn't just the crossing of Antarctica, this is my entire life, all wrapped into one idea, one dream. But can I really do this? Because I don't want to be the guy who's just full of shit. If I do fail, what does it all count for?
Thanks. Right, hello everybody. I'm happy to be in Rotterdam, Creative Mornings also. The gist of that video, if you didn't hear, was basically that I chose a few years ago now to take on the biggest challenge of my life, my sort of dream, which is to cross Antarctica. This was a mission that was so outside of my comfort zone, so far away from what I was perceived in my head that I could do. And it basically set me on a path that has basically changed my life in complete succession. And not only has it changed my life, but it's something that I've noticed that as soon as I put my finger on the dream, it changed the life of everyone around me as well. And that's basically the key message of this topic today, is that when you find your thing, you will find that it not only changes you, but it changes everyone else. And that's what I think is our duty. I want to put it to everyone in this room that I don't want to just encourage you to take on, a mission or take on something that you like. I want to tell you that it's your damn duty to do it. And it's because we're all striving for the same thing, which is fulfillment. And I think that's something that we can all agree on, and we can all sort of like join together on and go, okay, I want to have a fulfilled life. And purpose and fulfillment is something that is duty bound for us all. It's not something that we can go, okay, maybe I'll get round to it next week, because I'm sure there's a lot of people here who go, okay, I have this idea in my head that I want to do something. But I would put it to you and just say, take away the pieces of it, like I'm going to do something now or whatever. I'm going to say to you, just do it because you're duty bound. And I think that kind of pressure is something that it just allows you to really move towards your missions in a different way. Do I just press next on this one? Yeah. I think there has to be a starting point. For me, I worked as a creative and a designer in an advertising agency, and this was great for many reasons. It was also awful for other reasons. But one thing that I found was that I was naturally talented at outlasting people going on burnouts. A weird thing to be proud of, but it was something that I noticed happening quite often. Lots of people were dropping off around me, and I realized that I had some sort of like ability to sort of outlast the stress, outlast the sort of chaos, and actually be very calm within my surrounding. And it was then when I realized that I had some sort of talent for endurance, or something that I could sort of like outlast things with. So I basically was like, I'm going to need to take on something that's a bit more fulfilling than just being a sort of slave to the rhythm, right? We all work in the creative industry, I'm assuming, and the creative industry is wonderful for many reasons, and it builds a skill, a life skill, and a way to pay for things and everything. But like making like a deep like vibration and something that you can sort of inspire others with, I think it's a challenging field to really create that like deeper passion. And I randomly, with no experience whatsoever, signed up to a full distance Ironman. I'd never done a triathlon before. I'd never actually swam in a lake or the ocean proper. I mean, I swam like we all do. But I just decided I would sign up to a full distance Ironman, which is like the hardest triathlon you can possibly think of. And that was something that was like, I knew it was going to be really challenging, but it wasn't like completely so far out of what I was able to do. And that's a very important piece of this slide specifically. Like you need, if you want to have change and you want to create sort of like purpose and fulfillment in life, you need to rebuild what I think we had as children. We just talked about this, that we have this sort of like unlimited confidence. Like it's just something that we're born with, and then all of a sudden when we're adults, all of a sudden we don't have it anymore. We don't say we can be an astronaut. We don't say we're going to be whatever, king or queen or whatever you want to be. And I think we need to relearn how to be confident. And I think it requires like a safety event that you can practice and build yourself in. And mine was the Ironman. So I dedicate myself fully to it, and I learned all the necessary like dedications and the discipline that was required of me to do an event like this. And when I finished it, well, the craziest thing is when I finished it, I was like, I could have done more, which was wild. Like, because I thought I was going to be literally crawling along the line at the end of the day, but I actually didn't. And I was like, okay, well, what's next? You know, which was the wildest thing ever, because I just thought it was going to be insane. But what I didn't realize what was happening was it was building like an incredible confidence to build a dream. The dream sort of, again, popped out of nowhere. And I think like something about dreaming is like it puts you in, it gives you this sort of like North Star. Like you're looking at this thing the whole time being like, everything that I'm choosing to do today has some sort of purpose. It has a reason. It has a sort of meaning to it, right? And I think nowadays, like, meaning is so hard to find. And I think you have to create meaning, you know? And I think whilst building yourself through a mission, it gives you the confidence to give you purpose and meaning again, right? So I randomly was on a scroll hole on Instagram, and you know how it is. I was literally just looking at incredible people doing incredible things and thinking like, how the fuck can I do something like this? And then some crazy person was going across Antarctica, and I was like, how do you do that? That is like absolutely insane. Like it's the fee to go there alone is like €500,000. And then to prepare yourself mentally, I was like, how do you get to a place where you're confident enough to step off an Arctic plane and trek for 60 days in the harshest conditions in the world and just say like, sure, I can do that? Like how? Like, and I looked back at my Ironman and I was like, well, I'd never swam before. I'd never done a triathlon before. But all of a sudden I was saying, well, I did that. And now who says I can't do this? And that's something that we would say as kids, no? We would just go, yeah, I'm going to be an astronaut. Why not? Why the hell not? Why would I doubt myself to say that I couldn't do this, you know? And I think that's what's like where you can foster confidence in big dreaming. So if your dream is to sort of go after like a tech startup, or you're trying to go after your own agency or whatever you have in mind, you need to create like strong foundations in order to sort of like really go after that goal with purpose. And the only way to do that is with actual action, you know? So work on your mission, get confident, and then you can go after these sort of like bigger ideas. Curveball. We all try and sell to brands, right? If you're a freelancer, you work in business, whatever, we're all selling to brands. And I think one key part to this slide is that behind, this is cliche as it sounds, behind every brand is a person, right? And your storytelling ability is literally your currency in life, right? To be able to tell a good story is literally how the world goes around. Money is arbitrary, like in the grand scheme of things. It's just a formality, but your story is the thing that we really truly exchange. I mean, the reason I'm here today was because of that, no? We have a great connection, and the story is worth telling, so therefore we come and we talk about it, right? And the funny thing about your finances is that the better you are, the better you have got confidence through your mission, the better you are nailing that dream, and how passionate you are about it. You can call it you can call it a vibration or whatever, this sort of like magical energy that people talk about these days. But the truth is, when your story is incredible and you're so truly passionate about it, these things start to bleed into your financial life as well. It is something that you're winning people over on your desire, you know? And I think that's something that is like undervalued maybe, you know? You might have a dream to try and make a large amount of capital, but it's not about what you're after. It's about how you sell yourself. It's about like what energy you provide, you know? So I think this is something that the value of going after what you love and being able to tell that story, that really gets you quite far in life. People, I think on the journey of doing all of this, like taking on a mission, going after your dreams, I think at the very beginning of all of this is that it's a very incredibly lonely moment, because you're basically saying, I'm gonna do me, you know? And I think a lot of people nowadays try and like, that could be seen as selfish, or that's like a bad thing, that like doing me is like a bad thing. But I would say like an investment of like a year on me, you're all thinking in your head, me, not exactly me, is the absolute best thing you can do. Because not only is it like working on your self-determination, but it's, again, the story that you can tell and the energy that you can provide to other people. It's infectious. It is ridiculous how a small interaction and a small moment can make a chain reaction into your entire community, you know? And the people who you were once friends with, who are not sort of like on the same vibe, or they're not sort of going, to be honest, they're not really, they're made redundant in your life. You know, you have to make hard choices the older you get, and losing people is sad. But actually what happens is that the chain of command and the chain of reaction of inspiring people is that you find that people find their own energy, and then they go on to start businesses, or they have their own ideas, and you start interweaving skills. And I think that's something that is also incredible. Like, this room alone has so much talent, like working in creative industries, designers, art directors, app makers, UX designers, whatever. But what I find interesting is that like if everyone is just working together and trying to find some sort of purpose, if you tell someone else, hey, it's my dream to do this, their dream might be able to do something else. And then all of a sudden you've fostered like a joint venture, you know, and that comes from sharing your story. For instance, I had no desire in making film or documentaries or anything like this. I actually just had a dream to go to Antarctica. When I voiced that, there was a bunch of other people in my immediate network who I didn't realize they had this desire, which was someone wanted to be a director in documentary filmmaking. Handy. Someone wanted to break out of the ad world, who was making sort of like ads for McDonald's and thinking it was the best work that they ever created, but actually for some reason they didn't like their portfolio after they were working on some of the biggest brands in the world. And they were like, yeah, I worked at McDonald's. And I was like, yeah, but did you like that campaign? And they were like, not really. And they wanted to work on more heartful stories and whatever. And a few other people in this network, like people wanting to film and everything. And I just basically voiced that I wanted to do Antarctica. And all of a sudden, there was a whole film team, creative team, art direction, directors, everything, like who just wrapped the project immediately. And I was like, okay, shall we like make something together? And within a year's time, we'd made a full 1 hour documentary film, and it had been professionally graded, professionally slated as well. Like we made our own music and everything. It was wild. Like I couldn't believe what had happened. And it was just because some random dude had gone across Antarctica, and I was like, fuck it, I want to do that too. You know, so don't underestimate the value of other people in the room ready to do it as well. And the simple action of you wanting to do it too could make like an absolutely incredible thing happen. That's my key point. That's actually what I want to talk about today. And I'll just sort of finish depending on how much time I have left. Enough time? Yeah, cool. I'll just talk about, that's what I really want you to walk away with. I think that's my passion now, from now on, whatever I do, how I communicate with people. My mission is to be that spark for people. I want people to just think about what they want, and like that is basically like Jake from now on. Like I have my own missions and everything, but that's really what my purpose is. Some nice little salt and pepper, let's say. I have been on a pretty mad journey myself after this. After announcing this sort of documentary series, I went on to trying to just see how far I could go. So after I did the Ironman, I decided I would let's try and run ultramarathons. Someone in my circle who likes ultras, he basically said, 100K is not enough, so you have to do something more than 100K. Right? They're the kind of people in my circles. So I was like, okay, double it or quit. So I just went for 200 and was wild. I ran from Amsterdam all the way to Rotterdam and back. It happened to be a heat wave weekend then, and it was 35 degrees plus the entire time. I think in the night it dipped to 25. But again, when I went back to sort of my mission and how I developed as a human being, I realized that like if the Ironman wasn't enough for me, then maybe 200K could be, you know? It broke me. It was very difficult, very hard. Also saw Arlene here in Rotterdam with a party banger, which was amazing, like such a surprise. But again, it wasn't sort of like, my end goal was so big and so sort of like what I call my gravity goal, that like, again, it wasn't like gonna prepare me enough for Antarctica. So I was like, cool, let's do something bigger then. So I set my eyes on Iceland, some other crazy person who'd cycled in a complete lap of the whole country. And I was like, well, if I could run 200K, then who knows? Let's see if I can cycle a lap of Iceland. The ambition was to not stop. It was just to do it without sleep. It was 1,400 kilometers, which is like the equivalent of here to the south of France. And I cycled it for 63 hours. This was probably the hardest thing that I've, to this day, still done in one event. Like sleep deprivation it's crazy. Hallucinations, like it's very, very difficult. But of course, I still had my dream and my mission, and along the way, I actually need to fund this in some way, and I have to find sponsors. And every time that I sort of like go on an event or a mission or take on a new challenge, I of course have to pitch myself again and again and again to new people, try and make the dream work. But of course, what I learned in my Ironman and the goal that I had ahead of me, I found that like in those sort of negotiations to try and find sponsorships were becoming easier. You know, I was starting to really become believable in what I was doing, and sponsorships started to come. Amazing news, as of like literally 3 days ago, I just got sponsored by Garmin, which I'm like so happy about. Yeah, like really incredible. It's a long time coming. And it's taken a long time to sort of like get to that bit, but it's just about sharpening your tools, you know? And then to sort of like keep going along my journey, I then very recently, this is last year, I ran the entire length of Europe. From Norway to Spain, it took 93 days. And this idea actually came from my partner, of all people, because we were discussing like what we should do next after such a big cycle. I obviously was awake for 3 days and I cycled 1,400 kilometers. So I have to sort of go bigger. And I was like, right, Paula, I've got the idea. I'm going to run from the north of Holland to the south of France. And she was like, nah, it's kind of lame. And I was like, okay, well, and then I went back to my laptop and I'm using Google Maps to measure stuff. And then I was like, okay, I've got it. I'm going to do the north of Holland to the south of Spain. And she said, yeah, it's cool, but it's like not the vibe. It's still missing something. And I literally just sat back in my chair and was like, well, at this point, I might as well just run the whole length of Europe. And Paula goes, well, I'm not sure about this. And then I was like, that's the one. I'm doing that one. So it's funny how, like, again, going back to your sort of childhood philosophy, only a sort of child would think in that way, right? But we all value how confident children are, aren't we? We're always inspired by the fact that kids just go like, I'm gonna do it, like, and then they run around for like 3 weeks wearing an astronaut outfit, and they're like, I'm an astronaut. And that's in some ways what I did. I was just like, I'm gonna run the whole length of Europe, and I just kept saying it and saying it and saying it. And then the next thing I know, I was at the top of the north of Norway, setting out on my adventure, where I would run for 70 kilometers every single day for 93 days. So it was like, yeah, wild in the sort of way that these things can go. Yeah, and now I basically just have like this incredible like family or team of people, of dreamers around me, and I've fostered this over like the sort of last 4 to 5 years. And the most amazing thing is that like people in my network from like 3 years ago who sort of voiced that they wanted to kind of get into this and really work on themselves, now themselves are starting creative agencies, finding me in the middle of the desert in Spain and supporting me on my mission. And I think that when people are just like inspired by these things, like people just start to do it, and then those doers become your immediate network. And when you have those people around you, you honestly are like formidable, you know? So the journey's not over. I'm still going. Antarctica's still in the mission, and that mission is still sort of like so far away in my head because it's such a difficult challenge that now I'm sort of like, what I've sort of come away with, my key learning of like really putting my finger on like that's the dream I want to do, is that more like the dream has unlocked the life that I've always wanted to live, right? Whether I actually do it in 5 years' time or 7 years' time is really sort of like, doesn't matter. But like the dream has unlocked all of the things that I want to do in life. It's fulfilled my purpose. It's given me fulfillment, and it's made my purpose really like there. Like I wake up every morning and I'm like, holy shit, I have to run a marathon today, but I have to do it because I'm on this journey and I want to do it, and I set this stuff up for me, you know? So the key takeaway is practice, find yourself a safe sort of event that is challenging for you, whether it's a marathon or whether it's setting up a thing with your friends or whatever it is, but like have a mission that you can really like create discipline in yourself. Remind yourself that you are able to do stuff. Choose something fucking mental afterwards, like something so wild, and that sets you on a path. And I guarantee you that that is going to give you the fulfillment and purpose in life. I really, truly hope for it. Hope it for you. And if you have any sort of like things that you have in your mind that you want to bounce off me, you're more than welcome. You're more than welcome to do so. But yeah, that's it. I'm passionate about starting people's journeys, and I'm here to encourage people to do more and to really get really fulfilled in life. So thank you very much.